What's up, guys? My name is Bryan Carreto. I'm a US CPA that lives in Mexico City, and on this channel, I teach you accounting, audit, and everything it takes to be an awesome CPA. I was sitting here having my coffee this morning. It's Sunday, and I was having breakfast, and it was just like really quiet in my house today, and I couldn't help to just stop and just take it all in as where I'm at. If you don't know my story, I moved to Mexico City about 7 months ago, which is, I was born in the US, both my parents are Mexican. And it's a really special feeling for me to be here now, living in the country, doing what I love to do, which is accounting still, and doing it remotely. And it's just a whole experience that I'm eternally grateful for, and we'll just see what happens. But that being said, I couldn't help to stop and think how much the CPA exam really changed my life. And I know it sounds really corny and really cringe. I think that's what people say now. I know it sounds really cringe, like, oh, it's a CPA exam, it's so boring. But it really did change my life dramatically. And I'll kind of take you guys back to, if you don't know my story, when I had to go to community college because I was terrible in high school with school. So I went to community college. I ended up doing really well, transferred out, went to a university, did really well, got connected with like the local clubs, did all my thing, right? So I ended up, fast forward, I ended up getting really good grades in college and at the university I went to because I just focused, I did what I had to do. And then when I ended up graduating, you know, the only thing on my mind was I need to take the CPA exam. I have to do it. But at that time, just to give you guys some perspective, I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, let alone go to college. And that in and of itself was very difficult and very hard for me to acclimate myself to this whole new world I was jumping into. Not only was I the first person to go to college, I was the first person in my family to work like in a corporate setting. And that also was something that I was like dreading, that I didn't know what to expect. But fast forward, it's now August 2014 when I finally got my approval that I was able to sit for the exam. So when this happened, I said, okay, well, you know, I need to build out a plan to make sure I do this. And the first exam I ended up studying for was regulation. And this regulation exam was probably, if not looking at my whole career, looking at my life, that was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do because I had no idea what to do. I remember I went to the live classes that I use Becker. They offer like these live courses where you can go sit down, and I thought, hey, maybe, you know, I was a good student in college. Maybe I'll be really good at going to class and actually learning the material. Well, that was an epic fail because that did not work for me at all. And I remember there was this kid in my class. I went to college with them. Till this day, I'm not gonna say his name, but yeah, there was just this guy, I don't know, it was just really annoying because he was always that guy that like made me feel like I wasn't good enough or I didn't pick up the material well enough, or he was always trying to one-up me. Anyways, maybe that was a good thing, maybe that was a bad thing, but I digress. I ended up like leaving this live course or this live way to take the exam or this live way of actually going through the material because I was terrible at it. I knew I was not getting anywhere with studying this way. So I ended up studying my own way. I built like my own path. Now I call it exam mode, where I just like said, you know what? I'm gonna cut everyone out. Maybe this was good, maybe this was bad. Looking in hindsight, I think I needed it given my addictive personality and how I am. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna cut out my friends. I'm gonna cut out like girls and dating and like all this stuff and going out, and I'm gonna focus on this exam. And mind you, I had graduated June 10th, 2014, and now I'm studying during this interim period between June 10th, 2014, and I was gonna start with the firm I was gonna work at November 10th, 2014. So literally 5-6 months I had from the time I graduated to the time I was gonna start working. And I knew, I'm like, dude, if I don't get this done, I am so screwed. So I had so much pressure on me, and I wasn't working at the time. So like I had worked at Chipotle my whole undergrad, like the whole time I was a college student. I worked at Chipotle, you know, rolling burritos, and back then guac was $1.65 and burritos were like $5. I digress, it's a whole separate topic. But I worked at Chipotle for almost 5 years to get me through school, which was a great job, by the way. I loved it. But so when I'm studying for regulation, I'm having like, I don't want to say panic attacks, but I'm having like these really rough nights sleeping. And all I can think about was like, man, if I don't pass this exam, like I'm so screwed because I can't imagine if I can't pass while I'm studying full time, what the heck is going to happen to me when I'm actually having to work the hours in public accounting? And mind you, I didn't know what I was getting into in public accounting because none of my family is like a CPA, or none of them have ever worked in public accounting before. So I didn't know what to expect. And I remember showing up for my exam, and I showed up to like the Prometric testing center here. I'm from California. So I showed up to the Prometric testing center, and I show up and they like pat me down. They do all these things and I'm already super nervous. I'm like, dude, you're making it worse for me. Then I sit down in front of the screen and I swear to God, I could have told you I went completely blank. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what I had just studied for the last 8 weeks, but I said, you know what? God, get me through this. I somehow need to pass exam. Anyways, I took the first test lit. I was like, okay, I don't know how that felt. I think the second one, and midway through, they give you like a bathroom break in between each testlet. But like and I remember going to the bathroom and just thinking like, what the heck did I just do? Like, I'm failing this exam. I gave myself so much time. I gave myself like 2 months of studying full time at the library all day, every day to do this exam, and I'm gonna fail, and I just broke down. And I'll never forget that moment because it was a pivotal moment in my life that I think has forever shaped who I am as a person. I know it sounds really like, I don't even know, I can't even articulate the word, but I know it sounds really like, I don't know, bombastic. Oh no, not bombastic. I don't know. I'm not gonna edit this out. Whatever. I don't care. It sounds very like, I don't know. It's just it sounds. I can't even articulate the word right now. But I knew that this moment was gonna be a pivotal moment in my life. Mind you, I was 22 years old at the time, so like I didn't know what the hell's going on with anything. I didn't have the experience I have now with like life, finances, and anything. And I just told myself, I remember, I'm like, all right, Bryan, you put your heart and soul into this exam. If you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail hard and you're gonna give everything you got. Because I was so close to just saying, you know what? Like the CPA exam isn't for me. This is just not who I'm cut out to be. This is not who I am. Like, who am I thinking? I'm just some kid from immigrant parents that, somehow got lucky through college. And all these thoughts started going through my head. Like, how did I get the job at this big firm? Like, who am I? Like, I'm not supposed to do this. Like, 4 years ago when I was in high school, I was a complete loser when it came to academics. And now I'm thinking I'm going to be some CPA guy at some big firm. Come on, man. Like, snap out of it, right? And I know for me, some people it may be like, that's not a big deal. But to me it was, because that was everything in my life at that point. So I ended up going back, and I swear, I had like I don't know if it was a prayer. I don't know what it was. But I told myself, dude, you're going to fail. You're going to fail hard. And you're going to give everything you got. And that little voice inside of me just told me like, dude, just do it. And I went through it. Somehow I went through it. Boom, boom, boom. Got through it. And then I ended up finishing the exam. And I promise you, that was the fastest 4 hours of my life that I've ever had in my life. And I ended up getting done. And I'm actually gonna try to find it and link the post. I don't know if I'll find it because it's so old. But I posted something on, I think it was like Ninja CPA forums on like, people would help themselves out, or like people would build communities on who was taking the exam. And I remember I posted that like, dude, I think I failed. I feel like my family's gonna disown me. I feel miserable. It was like a manifesto of like me just saying, dude, I spent 8 weeks of my life dedicated, cut out everything, and I still failed. Like, what the hell's wrong with me? But mind you, I had BEC that I was gonna take it. I was gonna take BEC next, and the clock was already starting. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to take this exam next, and this is what I'm gonna do. So I just said, you know what, screw it. I had the same mentality again. If I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna fail hard. I ended up going through it. I'll make a long story short. Midway through the BEC prep, and it was already gonna be, I think it was a week before I started in the public accounting firm, because I started November 10th. I got my score for regulation, and I got a 77. That moment was so, I can't tell you what happened in that moment, but I can promise you, some kind of person of who I am now, it's like, I definitely consider myself a very confident person in how I carry myself, what I do professionally, personally, in my relationships, in my romantic relationships. I definitely feel like I'm a very confident person, and that was it. That moment when I got my score, and I was like, dude, I can do this. If I dedicate myself to something, if I wholeheartedly believe that I can do something, I am going to do it. And that absolutely changed my life. And that same attitude, and then mind you, I started working and having that confidence of having 2 exams done. And I remember when I started working, it was kind of like a flex, like a subtle flex of people would ask me like, oh, hey, are you studying for the exam? Like people were just starting because they went on vacations or they took time off. I didn't take time off. I didn't have that luxury. Like I was poor. So like I had to make money, So like all that on my mind was making money at the time. So it was a subtle flex, like with like the first years back in the day, right? It was like, oh, are you studying for the exam? I was like, yeah, I got one done. I'm taking BC next week. No big deal. But like that made me feel good. It gave me a sense of confidence. And people were like, damn, like this dude's already like he's on it. He's already taking the exam. Blah blah blah. Fast forward 6 months later, I took some time off for busy season because busy season was horrendous that year. I just had a really hard time my first year. I didn't really acclimate very, very well. But I ended up taking the last 2 right after busy season, like May, June, July, August. And then within a year, I was fully licensed. I had a CPA. I had my CPA, and I was done. And that same mentality, that person I had to become in the process of taking my exam, I've taken into my professional career. I've taken it into my investing career. I've taken it into my YouTube. Everything, this person that I had to become, the characteristics of the person that I had to become to pass all 4 parts of the CPA exam on the first try, that person I had to become to pass the CPA exam, the last 2 while I was working, those characteristics, I can guarantee you, have never left the person I am. And now at 32 years old, I can promise you that I'm so thankful to the younger version of myself that built these characteristics when really there was no vision at the time or no concrete vision of what the hell was going to happen, or if I was going to cut it at the firm, or if I was going to be a CPA or not. Nothing. I had nothing going for me at the time other than, sure, I had an accounting degree, but I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. But the characteristics or the man I was becoming at that time, a decade later, I can tell you that that same kid that went through the exam, that passed all 4 parts, that got through adversity, and believe me when I tell you there was personal things going on in my life at the time, at home, that I'm not going to disclose, but there was just things going on like everyone else, and I had issues to deal with, but I knew what I wanted, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew somehow, some way it was going to pay off. And now I thought about that today because I'm sitting here in my apartment in Mexico City, and I'll give you guys a little quick tour, but I'm sitting in my apartment and I just feel so blessed, and I feel so thankful for the younger version of myself and the person I've become today, and how confident I am in the decisions I make, in the path that I take, because of the building blocks and the characteristics and the person I had to become that had to pass the CPA exam. And I'll give you guys a quick tour of my apartment here, but this is my place here in Mexico. And as you can see, it's an awesome place. I absolutely love it. And mornings like today really make you stop and realize how blessed you really are, and how one decision you make in your life of dedicating yourself to something can absolutely change your life. That's going to be it for the video, guys. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to smash the like button below, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.